My cousin Diego and his family had barely finished unloading their moving truck when the storm arrived. And by storm, I mean Karen. Beige tracksuit, clipboard locked and loaded, sunglasses big enough to deflect personality, and a scowl that could wrinkle granite. I watched from across the street, lawn chair angled just enough to catch both the sun and the drama. "Excuse me," she snapped, marching straight up to Diego like she was hosting a bad reality show. "Are you sure you're at the right address?" Diego, ever polite, smiled. "Yes, ma'am. Just moved in today." Karen's eyes scanned the moving truck, the cousins unloading furniture, the children laughing in Spanish. Her lips curled. "This is a private community," she said slowly, like she thought English was a rare currency. "We have standards," Diego blinked. "We own the house." Karen's eyebrow twitched. "Rented then?" "No," he said, calm as ever. "Bought it." She stepped back like he'd just coughed on her. "Oh," she muttered, then quickly pivoted to her favorite topic, rules. "We have guidelines here. Grass must be kept under 3 inches. No loud music, no flags or foreign signage, no hanging laundry outside, no—" "Ma'am," Diego interrupted gently, "we've read the HOA packet. We're not here to cause trouble." Karen's eyes narrowed. "Good, because we keep this neighborhood looking a certain way." Then she turned to one of the younger cousins and barked, "No skateboarding in the driveway." The kid wasn't even skating. He was holding a board, talking to his sister. That's when I stood up. "Hey, Karen," I called casually, crossing the street. "Maybe dial it down a bit?" She spun on me like a malfunctioning Roomba. "And you are?" "Neighbor. Friend, witness to this awkward hate parade," she huffed. "It's not about race, it's about rules." "Sure," I said. "That's why you were fine with the Johnson boys riding dirt bikes last week, but suddenly a skateboard's a threat." Karen fumed. "That's different. I know the Johnsons." "And you don't know Diego," I said, "but you're about to." She turned on her heel and stormed off, muttering about calling the board and starting a complaint file. Diego turned to me with a smile. "She's a peach." I laughed, "more like a rotten avocado." What Karen didn't know, what made this whole thing delicious, was that Diego wasn't just my cousin. He was also the CEO of Belsol Construction, the largest property renovation firm in the state. And Karen, she was an assistant project manager at Belsol's sister company, which Diego's firm had just acquired 2 weeks ago. Yep. Karen's boss now answered to my unfit for the neighborhood cousin. And she was about to find out the hard way, because Diego, ever the gentleman, wasn't one for revenge. But me, I'm petty with a purpose. So I suggested a housewarming barbecue, invited half the block, rented a bounce house, made sure to hang a giant welcome banner in Spanish, and I invited Karen too. She came, of course, clipboard in hand, ready to pounce. But instead of violations, she got introductions. Because standing beside Diego that day, his wife, his kids, his legal team, and the regional HR director of the very company Karen worked for. And when Diego smiled and said, "Karen, I think we've met before, but maybe not like this," the color drained from her face like a sink in reverse. Karen begins to realize who Diego really is, and the pressure starts to build. Things get tense. Karen's smile cracked like a cheap mirror. You're with Belsol?" Diego's face lit up with mock surprise. Uh, oh, that's right. You work at Urban Nest Renovations. Yeah, we just finalized that acquisition." Silence. Even the bounce house behind us seemed to deflate a little out of sympathy. Karen's clipboard slowly lowered like a flag in defeat. "I didn't realize you were involved at that level." I bit back a grin. Involved, as if Diego hadn't just signed her entire department's payroll authorization the day before. "My cousin's being humble," I chimed in, sipping lemonade. "Diego owns Belsol." The HR director, a sharp-dressed woman named Lexi, nodded cheerfully. "And since Urban Nest is now under the Belsol umbrella, we're doing a little spring cleaning." Karen's eyes darted to Lexi, then back to Diego. "Wait, cleaning?" Lexi smiled. "Restructuring, evaluating performance, culture, how employees reflect company values, that sort of thing." Karen's face went from spray tan orange to printer paper white. "But this is my neighborhood, my HOA. I have responsibilities." "Absolutely," Diego said smoothly, "and it's important to be respectful and inclusive in all areas, professional and personal." Then he turned to me. "Hey, cousin, weren't you telling me about that new diversity initiative we're launching?" "Oh, yeah," I said, playing along. "It's all about making sure our employees feel welcome and safe, especially in their own neighborhoods." Karen swallowed hard. She looked like she wanted to evaporate. She muttered something about needing to check on her mini schnauzer and hustled away, heels clicking like gunshots on pavement. The rest of the barbecue? Legendary. Neighbors came by in waves, many of whom had stories about Karen. One guy claimed she fined him for planting aggressively colored tulips. Another said she once yelled at his kid for chalk art that violated the HOA's aesthetic cohesion. Turns out, Karen had been running the HOA like a personal dictatorship for years. Most of the board didn't even show up anymore. She'd scared them off. So Diego decided to help. The next morning, he submitted a formal request to review the HOA's financials and meeting records. As a property owner, he had every right. Karen denied it, of course, claimed the documents were classified. Bad move. 2 days later, Diego's lawyer sent a cease and desist and a demand for full transparency. Karen stalled. The board members ghosted. Then Lexi made a surprise visit to Karen's office. Karen tried to play it cool. "Oh, it's all been a misunderstanding. I had no idea Diego was, well, him." Lexi nodded. "All business. That's the issue. You treat people differently based on who you think they are. That's not the kind of leadership we want." The next week, Karen's title changed from project manager to project support. Her office? Moved. Her email? Disabled. And word spread that a formal investigation was in motion. Back in the neighborhood, Diego quietly submitted a petition to dissolve the current HOA board and elect a new one. The neighbors signed faster than Karen could spell violation. At the next emergency HOA meeting, Karen showed up like a ghost of Christmas past, pale, frantic, and still trying to hold power she no longer had. She sat down. Diego stood up. He took a breath and said, "Karen, you've had a lot to say about who belongs here. Now let's talk about who really does." And with that, the vote began. Diego takes the neighborhood reins. Karen begins to spiral. The fallout grows more personal and public. Motion to remove Karen Simmons from her position as acting HOA president, Diego announced calmly. Karen stiffened in her folding chair. The rest of the room, about 20 homeowners, sat silent for a second, then began murmuring. Some looked relieved, a few clapped, one neighbor even gave a quiet, "Finally." Karen stood abruptly. "This is a coordinated attack," she barked, her voice shaky. "This is about revenge, about humiliating me." "No," Diego replied, still calm. "This is about accountability." He pointed to the stack of printed HOA complaints he'd laid on the table. Over 100, all signed and dated, covering everything from racial profiling to unexplained fines for things like walking a dog with too much enthusiasm. Karen's face twitched. "Those were valid citations." "Too festive of a front porch isn't a valid citation, Karen," a neighbor snapped. "Finding someone for a cultural wreath is outrageous," added another. And telling Diego's family they don't match the neighborhood, a third chimed in. "That's not policy, that's prejudice." Karen looked around and realized the tide had turned. These weren't just Diego's friends. These were her neighbors. Her rulebook was now a fire starter. She reached for her clipboard, her trusty shield. But it wasn't there. Someone had taken it, and the vote began. One by one, hands raised. 10, 15, 18 votes. Karen didn't wait for the final count. She stood and marched out, muttering, "You'll regret this." The door slammed, and just like that, she was out. Within a week, Diego was elected interim HOA president. His first move, rewriting the HOA charter to protect homeowners from overreach and discrimination. The second, hosting a neighborhood meet and greet with tacos, then mariachi, and 0 clipboards. Karen, meanwhile, disappeared, or at least tried to. Her desk at Urban Nest was moved again, to the basement office no one wanted. Her work hours were slashed. She no longer led team meetings, and coworkers whispered about the incident and the CEO twist like it was an office legend. She showed up to work with big sunglasses and a new wig. It didn't help. The final blow came at the quarterly all-hands meeting. Lexi stood at the podium. "Before we close, Mr. Alvarez would like to say a few words." Karen froze in the back of the room. She hadn't seen Diego enter. He stepped up, clean-cut and sharp in a tailored suit, a complete contrast from the guy in a barbecue apron she'd tried to humiliate weeks earlier. "Hi, everyone. I won't take much of your time," Diego said. "I just wanted to thank all of you for embracing change and for making our company stronger through integrity and accountability." His gaze landed, just for a second, on Karen. "And for those of you still learning to treat every client and coworker with the respect they deserve, know this. Every company reflects the values of the people who build it. At Belsol, discrimination has no home, but those who change can still find one. Polite applause. A few side eyes. Karen clapped too, forced and robotic. Later that day, her office keycard stopped working. She wasn't fired, but she wasn't exactly needed anymore either. Back in the neighborhood, Diego's changes rippled. The fences were no longer color policed. Kids could chalk art again. Families hosted weekend cookouts without fear of a fine for lawn clutter. The place finally felt like a community. As for Karen, she started walking her schnauzer in a hoodie and sunglasses, trying not to make eye contact. The HOA email was transferred to Diego's assistant. Her monthly power trips were over. But the final twist, Karen's house was due for major foundation repairs. And guess who submitted the only approved renovation bid? Yep, Belsol Construction. Karen stared at the renovation proposal from Belsol Construction like it was dipped in acid. $23,800? She hissed, pacing across her kitchen in fuzzy socks and a worn-out PTA hoodie. For foundation work, her schnauzer barked once, unbothered. She slammed the paper down on her granite countertop. Absolutely not. She called 3 other contractors. None would touch the job. Sorry, ma'am, we're fully booked. Oh, we don't handle HOA-related disputes. Yeah, Belsol owns most of the contracts in that neighborhood now. You'll have to go through them. Her jaw clenched so hard it cracked. Karen had spent years cultivating a perfectly manicured dictatorship, and in just a month, Diego had dismantled it, brick by brick. Now even her house, her sanctuary, was literally sinking, and the only lifeline? Her worst nightmare. She tried submitting a repair waiver to the new HOA board, denied. She tried protesting the board meeting, security escorted her out. She tried emailing Diego directly, using a fake Gmail account. He replied, one line, "We do not negotiate with former tyrants, but we do offer payment plans." Her eye twitched. 2 weeks passed, the cracks in her walls widened. Her doors wouldn't close right. The floor creaked like it was whispering secrets behind her back. Reluctantly, she signed Belsol's contract. The construction crew arrived Monday morning, professional, polite, and slightly smug. Diego didn't come himself. He didn't need to. His company logo stamped on every worker's vest was enough. Karen watched from behind the blinds, seething. But it got worse. While digging into the foundation, the crew uncovered something unexpected, unpermitted piping, likely from a rushed remodel Karen had orchestrated 5 years earlier, the kind she fined other people for. The HOA board was alerted, and now Karen wasn't just paying for repairs. She was fined for non-compliance, forced to correct the violations. Another $5,000. She protested again. Diego responded again, this time with a grin during the HOA meeting. Rules are rules, Karen. You do believe in enforcing them, right? The room laughed. Karen did not. By the end of the month, the house was repaired. Perfectly. Better than it had ever looked. But Karen? She looked haunted. She wasn't fired from Urban Nest, but she resigned. Rumors swirled that she couldn't face her team anymore, not after HR released a diversity training video featuring a dramatic reenactment of a Karen-style HOA enforcer. Her own daughter texted her, "Mom, is that supposed to be you?" She didn't reply. Then came the final twist. The HOA board announced a new community feature, the Alvarez Pavilion, a lush green space near the neighborhood's entrance, complete with solar lighting, picnic tables, and a plaque that read, "In honor of those who turn discrimination into opportunity." Karen walked past it every day with her schnauzer. No one waved anymore. The woman who once ruled every mailbox and measuring tape had become invisible. Her name, scrubbed from HOA history. Her clipboard, dusty. Her authority, buried. And Diego, he never gloated, never shouted, never raised a fist. He let the system she once weaponized unravel around her. Quiet, calculated, ironclad. Justice, not vengeance. The neighborhood, thriving. The HOA, fair. And Karen, just another homeowner. No more power, no more aesthetic violations. Just foundation bills, passive-aggressive glances, and the echo of the life she could have had if only she'd known who she was messing with.